So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
What in the world is going on over here? Holy shit. Yo, thank you so much for the 9 months, Mabe. Thank you so much. And James Harris, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How are y'all doing? Well, good morning to you too. As you can tell, I have not quite started the day yet. Oh man. Hi. Welcome everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab where at the moment we are building a Twitch bot in Go, or at least trying to. And I'm also recognizing that there is a new version of OBS Studio. Minimize. What's the number one rule of deploying to production? Don't deploy to production right before you demo. Just saying. All right. Yeah. Push to main. Instant. Oh, we have a demo today. Well, that's great. So, you know, we can merge this. There's a couple of things that we changed over here. It's just a big old refactor that we did over there, but don't worry about it. Push to main. And then the demo explodes. Oh, I prefer main for sure. We actually are having that discussion at work right now, or at least starting the discussion, if you will. I don't know. I prefer main. It's a lot less connotation to it, which is nice. Let's see here. Where's the thing? Where's the thing? Hello? Thing? Oh, there it is. Okay. We good. As long as everybody's using one, which it does help at least, that I think it was GitHub. Yeah, no, we're going with the beanie. I think it was GitHub that very recently changed the default to main, or was that GitLab? I can't remember. Ooh, that looks terrible, but that's okay. Because you know what? Y'all aren't here for my mug, as far as I'm aware. Y'all here for the code. We're all here for the gophers. Yoink. Move that up just a little bit. So, where last we left off. So as a quick recap for everybody, because I've been told that I need to do these, we are building a Twitch bot in Go. And up to this point, that would be the bot that is greeting people, that is saying thank you for all the gifts and subs and so forth. Want to make sure that that is actually still working. Yay, the labels are still working. Oh, that only terrified the ever-living shite out of me. Hell yeah. All right. All that's working. All of this seems to be working. This is a little wide. Okay. I really need to go in and edit my my stream config, or my this would more or less be an Apple script that that sets up all these windows, does like placement and sizing and positioning and all that fun. Like, of all the things that that I agree and disagree with Apple script is really freaking useful. If anybody's never done that before, by the way, it's literally just script that you can place windows on your desktop in an automated fashion. Great. Hello, really, Frank. Thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? Let me turn that off. Make sure that doesn't go ding in the middle of stream. We don't like to go ding in the middle of stream. Let's. So what do we have? So where last we left off, we were talking a little bit about what will probably end up being the last couple of features that I want to add for the bot for what is considered to be MVP 3. And at that point, I think we would probably be safe to call the bot 1.0. So let's see here. So that was definitely one of them. We wanted to look at if we can condense the API and view routes using path params. Maybe possible, maybe not. I've had a little bit of a thought on that, and maybe. Hence the maybe. And then also this add listen flag to listen on localhost instead of all to avoid MAC network warnings. And I was thinking about if I wanted to do this in a particular way, and what I think might make sense, and now that I'm talking about it, that's the first thing we're gonna do. I think I want to do this in we'll call it a Docker second approach. So the assumption would be that if you're running the application, it makes an assumption that you're running on localhost, so it's going to try and bind to localhost. But if you add listen, you can change that to 0.0.0.0, which would be necessary for Docker. So we'll dig into that a little bit. Let's see here. Track last usage of a channel point reward. This one I'm going back and forth on, but I do think that I am going to remove it off of MVP 3 and call this more Horizon 1. And the thought there was that it was a feature idea that was given to me by a good friend of mine. And I think it makes sense, but I think it would require the admin page in order for that to actually work, in theory. I was going back and forth on like, how would I use that? How would it be useful? All that fun. Hello, Tilly. Would Tilly like to say hello? Oh, Tilly would like to say hello. Hold. Ah, gotcha. Hello to everybody. Hey. I don't get to see Tilly as much these days. He's usually running away, like that. Yoink. No. Goodbye, Tilly. She like jumped down, but then she just stopped and just sat there. Wow. Oh yeah, y'all probably aren't hearing the meows right now. Oh no. Tilly. Can we get a big old meow? Did that one come through? Oh, this is gonna be impossible. Unfortunately, I don't have quite that kind of microphone setup. That'll be an addition at some point. Be like a second microphone whose sole purpose is to follow the cat around. So I think that's again. While this is an idea that I kind of like, and I wanted to think through like how that would actually work. I think this is gonna necessitate the use of the admin panel, so I don't think it makes sense to do it right. That definitely makes more sense to do now. Polls, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Autothink followers, unfortunately, is not gonna be an MVP3. I still need to look at event sub again to make sure that event sub is not like usable. I don't think it is. Let's see here. Automating the OAuth step is definitely not MVP3. I think I've tried to tackle that like 7 times now. Yeah, something like 7 times now. It feels terrible. But so we're gonna move all of that stuff down. POC for event sub. This is something that we need to dig into. Keep that OAuth a safe distance, right? Let's see here. I do think that this POC needs to happen at some point. Hey, that's you. There's pizza. Aha, and it's a pizza. How's it going, mate? Thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? Let's see here. So we can definitely do that first whip ticket. Anything that we could do? Did I hear about the new stuff with channel points? No. What we got? What we got? Give me the stuff. Give me that good stuff. Let's see here. Enhance shout out command, add category. We might be able to do that one. I'm gonna put that one under the bug. This is all. Did you hear about the new stuff with channel points? I don't know. This is all very big brain for you. I call shenanigans. I've seen some of your gameplays. Trying to say that you're not big brain. Lies. Let's see here. Error monitoring. I don't think that this ticket is actually useful. I think this one was an idea that didn't really pan out. So we'll get rid of that one. Polls and channel points predictions have leveled up. Ooh. Okay. Pop over. Let's pop over into the into this here thingamadwiggy. Cause I wonder. Bits leaderboards. Okay. Let's see here. So create and delete custom rewards, custom redemptions. Oh, I need to look at that. Type train, automod. Oh. Dickity. She brought. Oh, no, I was gonna grab it, but never mind. She brought her toy in, and what she does is whenever she has the toy in her mouth, she's meowing, but the toy is in her mouth, so it like slightly muffles it. It sounds so adorable. I try to capture when that happens. Like I desperately try to grab my phone to get a video of it, but I just can't. But, I appreciate that, mate. I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. Been a very interesting month, to say the least. There's been a lot happening, and it's only the 5th. Hey, but hope you're doing well as well. It's been a hot minute, so it's good to see you, mate. Good to see all of you. Just saying. So, what do we got? Let's see here. So this one is that's the broadcaster. This is the event subscription, which I did want to look at. Create a poll for a specific Twitch channel. Ooh. Ooh. Usually frequent in Marvel streams. I feel so bad because every time that that Marvel streams, I'm probably working. And anytime that that he streams, it's like right in the center of like either it's either the planning meetings or it's right in the middle of like stand up. I'm like, no. But one day, someday. Trying to create an admin panel, which actually works. Well, there's your first problem. You're trying to create an admin panel, but to make it work, what you doing? I don't have the energy to create editable rows. I'm getting the row to edit and throwing it into a different component where the editing happens. It's fair. It's absolutely fair. If you're using React, I think there's an editable data table. I think. But I don't remember. Also, I beg your pardon. I'm just reading over this, so you can create a poll for a specific channel. You can only have a maximum of 5 choices? 5? What kind of bullshit is that bullshit? I need 8, minimum. Actually, I'm thinking of Erotomon streams a little bit. Total duration for the poll in seconds. Let me just do some quick napkin math. I'm totally not using a calculator because, as we all know, using a calculator is a terrible, terrible thing. Yeah. Actually, I had that discussion with somebody not too long ago. I think like one of my friend's kids. And apparently they are still in 2021. Now, mind you, this is not a elementary school child. This is like late middle school. So mental arithmetic, good thing to have. I absolutely am all for mental arithmetic. But at some point, can we just accept that calculators are meant to be useful tools? Can we just accept that at some point? But details. Let's see here. So polls are creating. It's creating a poll. I'm kind of curious what this looks like. Okay, we may try this. Pizza coming in with the reco. Coming in with them recommendations. I'll create a poll. Mahjong calculator. 25 plus 5 equals 30. I don't know what this voice was. I'm still not entirely sure what it. Oh no, that was my that was like my 7th grade English teacher. Hi everybody. I grew up in the South. What do you expect? Hi everybody. Today we're going to be learning about the wonders of the English language. You sure about that? I'm learning something, but I'm not sure it's wondrous. Let's see here. And also, it was 1800 divided by 60. Look, I'm for mental arithmetic. Some mental arithmetic. Why be good at mental arithmetic when I can be good at code? Based on object contain notification delivery specific, including a method string. Valid methods include webhook. Twitch. This is what's stopping it. This. Twitch, please. Give me WebSockets. And yes, I know ngrok exists. I don't wanna. Real talk though, I did have somebody tell me that I'm a little unnecessarily against ngrok, and it's fair. It's considered it's fair. You know what? I'm curious. ngrok. I don't want to require downloading it though. That's the problem. I wonder. Hub.docker.com. Nope. ngrok. ngrok Postgres. No, I want ngrok. Really? Huh. So ngrok exists, but that's not the ngrok that I was looking for. Interesting. Updated 2 years ago, updated 6 years ago. Yeah. What is ngrok? So ngrok is a service that allows you to have a quote-unquote publicly exposed URL for your locally running application. It's basically a proxy. It's a tunnel into localhost. So this is more or less the recommended way for, let's see, if you are dealing with, back to here. So like EventSub. If I actually wanted to work with EventSub, since EventSub requires a webhook, I could have a webhook in the Go application, have the Go application running locally, and then have ngrok running locally that exposes a URL that I can give to Twitch. Twitch calls that URL, that gets proxied back into localhost. So I can access a local project from a public URL without having to host it? Precisely. It's a neat tool. Like, I don't want to take away from that. ngrok is a very neat tool. I just don't like dependencies. That's the whole point of the bot. It's meant to be self-contained. But this was the curiosity of like, okay, well, is there a way for me to effectively do this? Such that maybe like as part of the Docker container infrastructure, we could spin up ngrok. But then that was the whole thing of like, I didn't really want to make Docker a requirement for the bot. So yeah, it's a lot of back and forth on like things that I don't want to deal with, things that I don't mind dealing with, but then also that back and forth of like, but I want it to be lean. I don't want dependencies. Just type it all and see. Maybe one day if I actually like do some rework and some practice to get my C work back up, maybe I'll do a C string. Maybe. May have to do that in the evening though, and I may have to replace the coffee with alcohol. If you want to torture yourself, you know, if you want to throw yourself into mental insanity for the viewing benefit of your audience, I probably would. 10 shots and then start coding in C. Whoa. Actually, that would be an interesting counter. How many shots until I create a segfault? Anyway, let's see here. So what do we got? So we got bits voting, bits vote, channel points per vote. Huh. Okay. So that is kind of interesting. 0. That is kind of interesting. It makes me wonder And then of course we do have the channel point predictions, which I was thinking about channel point predictions, but I mean it's so well supported in the app itself that I don't think the bot needs to have it. I mean maybe, well, maybe. Hello Tilly, I hear you in there. So first things first, let me do this real quick. So I'm going to add another card, integrate with Twitch poll. And then we're gonna add that there. This one will probably be a H1. Bye. Really losing her damn mind over here. Let's see here. What else? Integrate with Chanel. You know, them Chanel points. I'm not sure if we are going to want to do that. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. If anything, I'm just adding tickets, adding IDs. I also literally just did this at work yesterday. I was pruning through the backlog. You know, like, okay, won't do. Think duplicate. Is this a good thing still? Okay, that's still good. Oh, we got priorities. Take these, put them up at the top. Oh, we forgot something. Add a couple of tickets. Yeah, that was my night. That and watching the epilogue for Critical Role. Why? Anyway, that must have been a terrible sound. I apologize. All right. Is there anything else in here that I would want to mess with? Get users follows. No. Yeah. Still holding out. Still holding out for that stuff. Legacy Twitch V5. Where's PubSub? There's PubSub. Did PubSub have a follow? I don't think they did. Bits badge. Now subscriptions. Whispers. Multi-month subscriptions. User moderation. Oh, okay. Nope. Yeah, we got bits, we got channel points, channel subscriptions, we got some chat items, and we got Whisper. Again, we are stuck waiting for event sub. You know what? I wonder if I can do this. Oh, I can. Should I use Ingrok and add and sub? Yes. No. Okay. Should probably remove that option. Let's see here. Sure, and we'll do 5 minutes. All right. So I have started a wheel poll in the chat. If anybody is interested, should I use Ingrok and add event sub and just stop being such a baby? I will leave it to you all. And it will be in the chat over there. There we go. All right. So, in the meantime, let's take a look. So, event subscription. This will probably need at some point. Going to add this to and sub. WebSocket available yet? Nope. We'll add that. That. Because searching for documentation is one of the worst. Always to go with the lowest friction, aka the lazy. It's fair. In this particular case, do we even have lazy? Do you have any choice? I mean, realistically, I could. Okay. I could enable event sub and have it toggleable. Which is something that I am attempting to work out in my head of maybe I just add event sub but toggle it, and then whenever I actually deploy this thing, like it would theoretically have a public API. Maybe. I'm still kind of hesitant on that because I do like firewalls. But whether I deployed it here and did a Dyn DNS to my Route 53 domain, or if I did ngrok for local development, or if I actually just deployed it to my Kube cluster, like whatever I end up doing, at that point I would have a public URL. I just really didn't want to make ngrok required, which, to be fair, we could. So we could have this backwards compatible, and event sub could be everything. So we could have the new follower, new subscriber, the cheers, channel points. We could basically convert over from what we have now to event sub. Or we could just have event sub available for followers, and then we could potentially do something. We could, again, just still have it turn on and off, but it would be event sub for followers. Maybe event sub for followers and channel point redemptions. I do like pub sub doing that for me, though, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, but I do want to condense, I think, is the thing that's starting to kind of catch me, because let's pop into here. So we have pub sub for channel point redemptions. I forget that button doesn't work on this machine. We have IRC for basically everything else. But we can't condense down onto IRC, unfortunately. We can still use IRC for chat and for commands and all that fun. I probably won't get rid of that part. But we can at least remove some of the bits for like subscriptions and channel point redemptions and all that. Maybe we just move those things over to whether it be event sub or pub sub or whatever we end up wanting to do. Oh yeah, we do have raids. Raids are still there. Keyboard song. Okay. I had to recall if I remembered how to do that. Okay. Looks like pretty much everybody is in agreement for I should use ngrok and event sub. All right. Y'all win. We'll do it. Let's see here. Do that real quick. Let's do. All right. So first, keyboard song. Yoink. Tell me if you can hear this. That doesn't look suspect at all. Oh, that is very clicky. Where is the button? Not really audible? Yeah. That is something that I may have to change up. Let's see here. ELD keyboard has gone a little wonky as of late. The Prionic, by the way. There's a little microphone or a speaker that's on the bottom of it, and that one has been doing some weird things lately. Let me do this. Oh, I don't have that available. Oh no. I will fix that later. You shall get your 1,000 points back. All right, so let's pop back over here. Let's do the listen flag real quick, and then we'll do event sub. This one I'm gonna pop back over here, and I'm gonna pop that into H. All right. I guess I should probably get ngrok installed as well. Ooh, that'll be interesting. So we'll get there in just a sec. But first, the listen flag. So TLDR for listen flag is that last time, I believe it was really Frank that pointed out that because we are doing a listen and serve on every network interface, every time that I start the bot, you end up with this, or at least on Mac, you end up with this little thing like, hey, something is trying to take over your network. You should be afraid, and things are gonna happen. Yeah, so that's annoying, but necessary when you're in Docker. So that's kind of why I do this. Is that this is basically the Dockerfied form, or you may also often see that. I see this a lot in like Express apps for Node.js and such. You have to listen on 0.0.0.0 in order for that traffic to actually come out of Docker, or come into Docker. Details. So, but what we can do is we can just make that a variable, and right here we can add a flag.stringbar. String that, VAT? Let's see here, this would be a listen address. We want this to be listen. Value default will be, what will value default be? I had a brief moment where I felt like Rodamon for a second. It's like, holy shit, I have polls. I'm actually trying to be a real streamer. For those of you that don't know, Rodamont, is it 5168? I think. That's I've mentioned him a couple of times. That's a RimWorld slash. I think he classifies as a variety streamer. I'm probably screwing that up. But super cool dude, and the labels and the combined label and all that fun, the features that I've been talking about was inspired from his stream. So fantastic dude. If see here, let's see if I can actually do the shout out properly. Which I do need to look that up. Twitch 5186. Aha. Copy. Paste. I think that's the one. Just gonna double check that real quick. Hey, it is. Fantastic. I actually got something working for once. Yay. But fantastic dude, super engaging streams as well. So if you haven't heard of Rodamont before, go check him out. Super cool dude. There's still a little bit of guilt because it's like I was trying to get into RimWorld mod development, and oh boy was I reminded of how shite I am at C# and all of the C# tooling. It's like, where's Go? I need to go back to Go. But let's see here. So default for this will be localhost, and then address to listen on for the HTTP server. Do something like that. Let's see here. So var listen address is a string. Get that. All right. And so now we can come down here. We can change this. I guess since we're adding a listen address, we should probably also add a listen port. We'll keep this as a string, for simplicity sake. And then this will be more or less the same thing. Listen port. This would be port. I feel like I should make this host and port. So this will be 8080. Port to listen on for the HTTP server. And then we can do this fun. So we can change this to fmt.s%f. This will be %s: %s. This is host, or this will be listen address, listen port. Now in theory, that should still work. Nope, we did boom. We went boom. Oh, did I reconnect fast? Yay! Now, the question is, can I still hit it? Localhost 8080. 404 page not found. Perfect. Kind of weird to say 404 page not found and then follow that up with perfect. Like, that worked? Technically, yeah. All right. So that was easy. Let's get that yeeted out of the way, and let's get into event sub. All right, so nope, that's not what we did. We did that. All right, and thank you for that suggestion, really, Frank. I'm gonna be so happy to not have that bloody prompt on me. That does mean, though, real quick, that we do need to update the Docker file. So channel, Medge Labs, all. Host is 0000, and port is 8080. So we do have to update the Docker file as well. Do we have the? Yeah, we do. DCB. Yeah, DCB. What? No such file or directory. Wow. Oh, is this out of date? Cache data. Oh, we don't even need cache data anymore. Yo, build this. Ports do that. Don't think we need anything else. Ooh. Error while fetching server API version. No such. What? Oh. I'll recommend Docker to a friend whenever this shit gets cleaned up. Oh man, it always catches me. It's like, oh, connection error. Okay, connection error to what? The Docker daemon wasn't running. Derp. Let's see here. So let's do that. Let's double check diff. We just want that, and Docker file, main.go, and Docker compose. Git commit that as add host and port flags for local overrides. Bongo. Git push origin. GPOCB, git push origin, alias for current branch, which is git branch -- show current. I think it was. Yeah. So, GPOCB. So much faster to type that. This actually came up. I'm curious what people think. This came up at work the other week of aliases versus mental atrophy is basically how the conversation went. TLDR was that there were two sides of the coin. There was me, who is alias heavy, obviously. I mean, git commit -m, GPOCB, yada yada yada, git status. Like I'm alias heavy at this point. But I don't alias everything. Like, I don't alias get push dash F. I refuse to alias get push dash F because I want that time when I'm typing out get push dash F to really think if I want to dash F. Just saying. But it came up as a discussion point because people were going back and forth on, like, are aliases good or bad? And the bad side was saying that they were bad because they take the commands away from your mental, like the front of your mental capacity. And I was trying to figure out why that is. Because in my mind, when I say GPOCB, or when I type out GPOCB, I'm saying in my mind get push origin, and then the get blah, 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 the current branch, so get branch double dash show current. Like, I'm saying the commands in my head as I'm typing out the alias. Is that common, or is that just me? It's definitely not just me. I'm not that special. All right. So let's get events up as well. Can't do that. Let's see here. Let me get out of here real quick. Brew install Ngrok, I think it was. Ngrok download. More options. Nah. You actually have Ngrok as an option? Equinox.io. Who is Equinox? Who is you? Let's see here. You download Ngrok, you sign up for a service, you do things, and you do stuff. Oh yeah, we have to sign up for a service. All right, hang on. Where's the secret button? Secret. I forgot we do have to sign up for a thing. So my name is Medgelabs. Medge at medgelabs.io. Yes, I just DOSed myself a little bit, but all right. Generator. Ooh, a big old password. Whoop. I am not a robot. Let's let me add a login for that real quick. Oops. I clicked away from the button. Never click away from the button. Medgelabs. Giant fuck off password. And save. Okay. All right. So now we have. Ooh, we have an Ngrok auth token. Okay. So, we're gonna have Ngrok them. So what I'm doing is I'm getting set up, and for this I want to export Ngrok token equals that. So I'm getting set up. There's an access token that you use to authenticate with Ngrok, and then there's a command that you run to auth to this bit. So I'm also setting up a ZSH. ZSHRC. I'm setting up some ZSH aliases for alias Ngrok. Ngroth. Oh, this is absolutely going to need to be a command, not an alias. And I would be showing this, but secret tokens. Boop. So we need to source home Ngrok access token, and then we can say Ngrok token. Do like that. Ingroth. Ooh. Oh, right. ZSHRC. It is not current directory. Ingroth. Saved configuration file. Cool. Hey, Salty Moth. Thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? Let's see here. So in theory, that fires up the account. Auth token is created. You only have to do this once. Okay, so I didn't actually have to create an endpoint for that. Or a thing. Okay, there are no tunnels currently to your online account. That's okay. I think that should be everything. We're not going to use that. As long as we have that. Oh, Ingrok is a paid thing now. Or at least it can be. We have 1 Ingrok process, 4 tunnels, and 40 connections per minute. That's not terrible. Quick demos, another simple tunneling needs. You can have custom subdomains. Huh. Interesting. Maybe, but not right now. We're gonna go back to the dashboard. Back to the dashboard. I wish it wouldn't take you straight to the setup endpoint, because that is probably gonna get me in trouble. Let me double check. Can I regenerate? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So worst case scenario, if y'all somehow do see this token, well, it won't be the end of the world. Let's see here. So, welcome to Ingrok. Ingrok, the online tunnel, so that you can test things like webhooks locally. Because good times. Alright. You must include an app access token, which we do have. You do not need to include a user access token even for subscriptions that require user authorization. Okay, that's cool. When creating a subscription, you must specify a secret for purposes of verification. Secret is a string between 10 and 100 characters. If you have the option to create it as 100 characters, create it as 100 characters. If there's anything that I've learned over the years, it's if the password rules let you go up to a maximum and you have a password manager, which hopefully you do, go to the maximum. The only caveat, for me at least, is anything that requires me to type that password manually, such as, like, say, on an Amazon Fire TV. Just saying. Let's see here. Doing pretty good. How about you? Oh, thank you, mate. I'm doing well, thank you. Trying to, finally accepting that I need to do event sub. The chat hath voted, and so now we do event sub. All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna. Ooh, I can bring up the white. We haven't brought the whiteboard up in a minute. Hang on. Secrets. Zoom. Anybody remember the whiteboard? Been a hot minute since we've done this. So I want to do a new. Don't want to do that with my personal. Just do a random one. We do not want to join with audio. Now we got the Zoom meeting, and let's see here. I want to screen share iPhone, iPad via AirPlay. Chat. It's the absolute greatest. Just saying. Quick note. And screen mirroring. Oh, we need to turn on Wi-Fi. Yes, I'm one of those weirdos. I turn Wi-Fi off because I like battery. Zoom that into there. I do wish that I could make it smaller, though. Not gonna lie. Ta-da! Well, I guess I can technically make it smaller, but... move this down. Oh, I can make it smaller. Yo! Oh, that's so cool. All right, sorry. Can you tell it doesn't take much to make me happy? Like, when it comes to tech, this is one of the coolest things. Also, for anybody that's not aware, this is my my virtual whiteboard that I use for for these types of situations when I need to, you know, write something down, like, hi, chat. And then we can have, you know, diagrams that show other diagrams, which go to other diagrams, which remind me that I am always shite at drawing the database. Anyway, let's pop that into here. This will be our event sub notes. Event sub? Sure, why not? All right, so making a couple of notes here. Number 1, I can now do art streams. You're adorable. There be no art streams for a Medj. Oops. Oh. No. This any big? Oh, now I actually can't do anything with it. Oh, there it goes. Okay. We'll just bring that like there-ish. Okay. So, number 1, we do have auth. So the auth is an app access token. Which, for anybody that remembers, Twitch has different types of auth tokens. App token, user token, and I think, I can't remember what the other one was. But anyway, and the token that we're using right now is an app access token with elevated privileges, so that should be fine. The secret is a 10 to 100 character, let's see here, and that is provided as part of the, I'm guessing that's part of the subscription payload. Let's see here. So we do gate host to blah blah blah. Thank you for the lurk, Projemco. Let's see here, Helix, event sub, and subscriptions. I'm guessing the secret is to, yeah, by the way, Ingrok, who'd have thought? Details in the request body, URL provided in the callback field must use HTTPS. Aha. Callback must be HTTPS. Which, to be fair, HTTPS should just be a normal thing. So we create a subscription for channel.follow, version, condition. Okay, so we need the broadcaster ID. Let's see here. Needs that be though. Broadcaster ID. Callback URL and secret, which the secret we can just generate. I'll have to think about how I want to do that. We could just take 2 UUIDs, smash them together, and call it a day. Which would probably be unique enough. Then that fires back a response. Twitch response indicating the subscription request is callback verification pending. Needs to verify that you own the callback. Ooh, okay. Twitch sends a callback verification request. Okay. Respond to the callback verification request by returning the value of challenge. Ah. So we have to call back to the callback? Question mark? Status type, condition, create at, transfer, total cost, max cost. Get event subscriptions. Uh-oh. Okay. Verify a signature. The HMAC key is your subscription secret. The HMAC message is the... Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. So there's some stuff that we have to do. Handling duplicates. Twitch subscriptions are designed as an at least one system. This means that if Twitch is ever unsure whether you received a message, it'll retry. Every message includes a Twitch event submessage ID header. If the message is retried, the value will stay the same. I need that value. Okay, so we have some header validations. Okay. Subscription limits. Now, what is the... What is the subscriptions? How do I verify? That's the thing that I'm wondering. Twitch sends a callback verification request. Okay. So I have to send this challenge somewhere. Where do I send the challenge? Oh, I have to respond to the callback. So I receive the request, I have to respond. I have to respond with the challenge. Okay. So on create, it will send a message to the callback. So number one, Twitch will send challenge to callback URL. So we need to validate the headers, and then we need to, bring that over here. Need to respond with just challenge. As plain text. I'm going to assume they want a HTTP 200. That's my assumption anyway. As plain text. Yeah. Which is interesting, but I guess they did that because they didn't want to parse JSON. So, fair. So all that does, and then we get a subscription, receive a notification, and that'll do a thing. Admittedly, this might be really handy for emulation, because at that point the callback is just the HTTP endpoint, not unlike what we have right now. Stop it. You all know you were right. That handwriter font looks so real. I know, right? Looks like an actual person actually wrote it. Right. So that should give me enough to go off of. So we'll start with. Oh, they have. Oh no, they have channel raids. Oh dear. You remember when I was saying that I was really excited for Event Sub? Because, well, I was. This is basically everything. Except, let's see. Channel update, channel follow, channel subscribe, channel subscription gift. Handy. Cheer, raid, ban, unban. When you mod somebody. A viewer redeemed a custom channel point reward on the specified channel. Poll begins, prediction begins. A bits transaction occurred for an extension. No idea what that is. Oh god, we got the scam train. Oh, we could tie into the scam train. Oh no, that's hilarious. Stream online, stream offline, user revoke, user update. Okay, so the one thing that we don't have is chat. So IRC is still relevant here. We can just, in theory, we can move. Well, we can basically move everything over to Event Sub. Whether we do that or not is a different detail. But we'll come back to this, I think. So the event is broadcaster user ID, login, username, title, language, category name is mature. Oh, right, this is the channel update. Channel follow, user login, username, broadcaster user ID, user login, username, followed at. Cool. Channel subscribe. These all look really similar. It's a little ridiculous that Twitch doesn't support WebSockets for these notifications, right? Like, I mean, I get it in the sense that like webhooks are much cheaper than WebSockets, at least from what I remember. It's cheaper infrastructure than WebSockets, but still. Let's see here. And to be fair, requiring webhooks does kind of weed out a good bit of additional spamming, which is helpful, I think. Channel subscription end webhook. That's fine. These events at least are looking really, really similar, which is great. I think all of this is unnecessary for what we're going to be doing. So we may use that that JSON package to just extract event and then mess with event a little bit. So we'll get to that. Let's see. We got channel gifts. Okay, let's go for... Let's go for the redemption, the channel point redemption first. Because that one's easy to do and it doesn't cost anybody anything. Well, in theory. In fact, actually, let me pull this over here. I'm gonna come down into the Twitch chat real quick, and hopefully this doesn't start playing. Twitch, Mitch Labs. Yep, so that's there. I need the moderator view. Let me minimize that to dock. Because we actually don't want that one. And let's see here. Don't really care about that too much. I'm just over here looking at the actually let me move to grid. Move that to grid. Let's see here. So we accepted that one, that one, that one, and this one refund. There we go. Okay. I was just bringing up the mod view for the channel, so that I could do some channel point shenaniganery. So what I'm thinking is that if we start with the channel point redemption, that one should be easier to do and easier to test. Where are you? Redemption. Since a notification when a viewer has redeemed a custom channel point reward on the specified channel. So we need something like this. So let's come back up here. Okay, so we can, let me throw the secret back up for just a second. Stop the zoom share. And end that. You can quit out of zoom. Just wanted to show the whiteboard off again, because that whiteboard is so good. That, so let's take secrets off. All right, so let's start by make deer. Do we have? No, we don't. So let's put this in a Twitch folder. Well, nah, it's assumed Twitch, so event sub. And then we're gonna have event sub client.go. We're gonna have something very similar, I think. Event sub message.go. And we're probably gonna do something similar to what we did with PubSub, where we have, so instead of message, actually, let's do rm event sub message.go, and let's instead have event sub channel point.go, of something like that. Basically what I'm thinking is this package will kind of serve as a boundary for event sub, much in the same way that we have a boundary for IRC, for PubSub, etc., etc. And what I'm thinking we can do is we can have separate, we're going to have separate messages and message serializers for the individual channel events. And then the client is just going to be a HTTP wrapper, if you will. So let's go ahead and, event sub, client.go, package event sub, and type event sub struct. So what are we going to need here? Well, for one, we're going to need a client, which is a http.client. I can't remember if HTTP client had a let's see here. Represents a client to the Twitch event sub plus. I can't remember if client had an IO read writer thinger yeah, English. Hi. I can't remember if we actually had a client for that, but let's see here. So we want base URL is a string. We're going to need a secret is a string. Oh, right, this should be a base URL because formatting. The secret is going to be our generated secret. Let's do a new base URL string. Secret is going to be generated, so, and this will return an instance of event sub. Secret is UUID dot. Oh no, not Go UUID. This would need to be Google UUID. And we do need to do a go get -u github.com/Google UID. I think is what it was. Did it undo the... Oh, it did. Stop it! Imported but not used. Hello. Right there. Oops. COC reset! Do your thing! And then we will return event sub. So client is http dot. Well, honestly, it could just be default client, I think. We're probably gonna update this at some point. Base URL is base URL. And then secret is secret. Undeclared name UUID. Suck it. Yeah. Interesting. When you try to focus, but all the neighbors pull out heavy machinery to do as much noise as possible. What, you're not for the Saturday cacophony of heavy machinery? Nah, I can't say anything. I actually got yelled at one time because I went outside at like 7 a.m. I think it was, because I was up and I was ready to go and need to do stuff and wanted to get an exercise in, so I decided to go outside and mow the grass. Yeah. And I mean, I have an electric lawnmower, so like it's not as loud, but it is still kind of loud. Ugh. Undeclared name, UUID. Yeah, well, UUID. Is it still not finding UUID? Hello? Did I run into this before? Now I don't even have... No. No. GitHub.com/Google/UUID. There we go. Now. Random UUID. There we go. And now this one has a UUID and an error. So this can error out somehow. How can this error? I'm curious. Strength of UUID is based on the strength of crypto-rand. A note about uniqueness. 122 random bits. One's annual risk of being hit by a meteor. Oh, this is... I love this. Okay. So, randomly generated UUIDs. One's annual risk of being hit by a meteorite is estimated to be a 1 in 17 billion chance, which is the equivalent to the odds of creating a few tens of trillions of UUIDs in a year and having one duplicate. This to me is, it reads like a developer who had to explain to a business person how unique UUIDs really are. Now, to be fair, UUIDs are only as unique as their generation. So if you're storing UUIDs as a uniqueness identifier, it does help if you have a just in case around that code to be like, oh, UUID is not unique, regenerate it, try again. Like, it's such a basic thing for UUIDs. Like, just regenerate and retry. You probably will never hit that piece of code, but you may. But I love this comparison. It's like the chances of you generating a unique, a duplicate UUID is the equivalent of being hit by a meteorite. You, specifically, you being hit by a meteorite. I love that. Developers. Now the question is, if error does not equal to nil, what have we just run into? I feel like this is a log.fatal. Like, this just feels like a situation of error generating a UUID for event sub. Meteorite inbound. Yeah, you know, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I think I just wanted to say meteorite. So it wouldn't be new random, it would be new string. Turns the string or panics. Yeah, that's fair. Now we did want to replace, I think this is, this returns it in dash format. And like me, except I always panic. So what do we have here? How many, you might know off the top of your head, is it 32? It's 32. So 32 characters for one UUID. But if we generated a second UUID, for now we'll generate one UUID, but like, what's more random than one UUID? Two UUIDs. What's actually more random and less and more space efficient than one UUID? A source prefixed UUID. We were having this this discussion at work of like the astronomical unlikeliness of UUID duplication. It's unlikely. It is possible, but it's unlikely. So in the event that it does happen, we have the retry logic and all that fun. But we were thinking about it and like, well, how could we make it more astronomically impossible? We thought about it and was like, well, we could take two UUIDs, smash them together, and then form a really big UUID. It's like, okay, we could do that. But how could we do it faster? And how could we do it with less space? Because as much as people like to say that storage is cheap, it still costs money. We were thinking about it, it's like, well, what if we took the application and just prefixed the UUID? So like when we're accepting events, we take in events from a source application. So if we have 5 applications, they're all generating UUIDs, so that multiplies the chance by 5 in theory. But what if we just prefixed the UUID with a source string that we apply to all applications? Well, now all of a sudden you're back down to the base astronomical generation possibilities. It was an interesting discussion. It made my brain twirl a little bit. All right, so we have our client, and now what we need to do. So as part of the connect step, so func connect, and this could potentially return an error, so we're going to return nil here for the moment. Now, how do we do this in IRC? I think in IRC we did the same thing. Oh no, we called it start, I think. Start makes sense here. Well, yeah, we'll keep it consistent. We'll keep it a start. The element of consistency here, I was questioning for a second, because start makes sense for IRC because you are starting a persistent connection to the IRC, but technically you could just be saying you're starting the client. And in our case, we would be starting the client. We would be using the client to attempt to connect to connect and subscribe specifically to what we needed. This is another thing that we need to take into effect. We need the callback URL. So we need the base URL and we need the callback URL. Base URL, I'm actually considering changing to server URL. So server URL is server URL is the URL to the Twitch event sub API. Callback URL is the local URL for the bot, which Twitch will send events to. There we go. Let's see here. Make sure that's up. And get that up. It's Father's Day. Is it Father's Day? Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Oh, wait, I thought Father's Day was on the 20th. Is it Father's Day for you, really, Frank? Huh, Google is telling me that it's, oh, right, it's Father's Day in the United States. Right. Father's Day on the 20th in the United States. I panicked for a second because mine is in Mexico. So I was like, oh no, oh no. Oh, gotcha. Okay. That's cool. So you got some socks, you say? Are they really nerdy socks? There was a new set of socks that were released in the Critical Role store. I have never been so excited for socks in my life. Just saying. A new client to event sub. They were some pretty damn good socks though. Like they looked pretty freaking awesome. And the original socks were really cool, so. All right, so we need base URL callback, or not base URL. We wanted to rename this to server URL. This is a secret UID new string. And we do need the secret to be kept, so. But plain as you like them, that's fair. I used to work for where I worked. Oh Lord, this is a long time ago. This was like back in 2013, 2015, that realm. I used to work for a lead who always had like super low key but nerdy socks. And it was always interesting to figure out what kind of mood he was in based on the socks that he was wearing. Why? I don't know. It just was. Let's see here. So start creates subscriptions to the desired events. And it can error out if we cannot connect. But we're gonna start with the simple ones, which would be so this actually needs to be C event sub start, and for this we'll say if C dot server URL I feel like this should maybe actually be in the constructor. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. What I was thinking of doing was, should we do some validations like if c.server URL is empty or c.callback URL is empty, then return errors. What is it? Errors.errorf, is that where? Yeah. Server URL and callback URL must not be empty. I guess we didn't need errorf in that case, but get the idea. I'm actually not a fan of doing this. Hold on, play two, but if c.callback URL is empty, this is a little more verbose, admittedly. Callback URL must not be empty. Server URL must not be empty. This is a little more verbose, admittedly, but I kind of. I need to get that. I need to get that real quick. But I kind of like having them separate so that the error messages are very explicit of what went wrong. But give me just a second. Somebody's at the door. I will be right back. And we're back. Sorry about that. All right. Let's see here. Open up! You see the door bust down, cats start going nuts, things start falling from the ground. Oh, falling from the ground? Falling from the sky? Hi. Apparently I haven't had enough coffee today. Well, I guess it is only 9 o'clock. It's already 9 o'clock. Holy crap. Anyway, let's try and get event sub going. So we start, we do that, do a thing. First thing that we have to do is we need to make this API call. I did say server URL. Server URL goes to the base client, so we are going to be doing some interpolation. But we're gonna say that this part is the server URL. So this part, or maybe we could say it's up to event sub. Event sub subscriptions. Event sub subscriptions. Yeah, we'll just do the what the hell? We can well, actually no. Sorry, I was going back and forth here. So what I tend to like to do is I like to have the base URL be separate from the URI. So in this case, HTTPS blah 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 API twitch.tv helix event sub. This forms our server URL. So in our main.go, oh man, yeah, there's a lot of stuff up here. Let's go up to IRC. So here, event sub equals let's see here, event sub client event sub.new, and then so server URL is going to be, oops, well, down here. There we go. So server URL is going to be event sub, and then the callback URL is going to be something. So I think what we're gonna have to do patch results in a cores conflict, but when I change it to post, all is good. Access control allow methods may not include patch. Double check if access control allow methods includes patch for that URL. All the cores PTSD just like flooded me all at once. Holy shit. All right, so let's see here. So we need a callback URL. It's going to be something. So that's gonna go in there. And then event sub client dot start. If error does not equal to nil, then we do a log dot fatal error. And then this is event sub. All right, because we've already got error. Let's see here. So we do that, we do that. We need to figure this out, but that will probably get passed in as a parameter or, well, yeah, no, we're gonna have to set that as a config in some capacity. And I think it's gonna be dynamic config, so I'll have to think about how I wanna do that. But, so that gives us up to event sub. So then what we need to do is that down here, we need to try, let's see here, c.client.post. Now, how do we want to do this? So for one, we need the URL is fmt.sprintf, and this is %s/%s. Well, technically it would just be %s, which would be subscriptions. And then this would be c.server URL. So we have something like that. URL goes here. Then what was it? HTTP dot. Oh, there was no content JSON, was there? I could have sworn Go had a, let's see here, Golang content type. I thought HTTP had a content type. No? Interesting. All right, well, that's fine. Let's see here. So up here, we're just gonna have a const for what do we want to call this? JSON. So that does like that. JSON is a constant for the JSON content type header value. I could have sworn that was somewhere in the HTTP package. But that's okay. So we're posting to URL, content is JSON, and then for here we need what do we need? Bytes, probably .new buffer from JSON, and then for the JSON, this is where we're going to this is where we need to serialize the request, or to marshal the request, I should say. So for subscriptions, to create a subscription, we do need a client ID. Ooh, interesting. We do need a client ID. So we need a client ID and we need an authorization bearer token. Okay. Which I think this is just standard Twitch API, if I remember correctly. So content type will be correct. So we need the client ID and the access token. Okay, so that's a couple more things we need. So client, server URL, callback URL, client ID, and access token, the string. Patch needs some different content types. Are you patching JSON? I could have sworn that patch and JSON just worked. Put that there. Let's see here. So we are going to need callback URL. We're going to need the client ID and the access token. And I'm starting to get to the point where we're probably going to need a config object. Like, I don't like how many of these. If you remember Shito from a while ago that created the client config. Thinking something like that. Type config struct, and then we end up with these things. Change to this, so config is a config object. So this would be config.server URL, Client ID would be config.client ID. Sometimes I'm against this. Sometimes I'm not. Just in case anybody was curious as to like why I didn't do it then, but I'm doing it now. If I have a number, like a number of positional arguments that are all the same value or that are all the same type, that is usually when I start to look at objects, specifically objects that have some type of type and name configuration. I will only do that if there's more than like 2 usually. But in this case, I mean, we've got 4 string arguments that are all going to be URLs plus client ID and access token. Like the positionality is just going to be confusing, so I'd rather just have an object. I like having types when I can. Config is a input struct for the new constructor. So then we can do stuff like that. Now, the other problem here too, though, is that I think we're gonna have to update. I think we're gonna have to do a c.client. I think we're gonna have to have to. You know what I mean? So we're actually gonna need to have a request. So method URL body. So method is post. URL is actually URL is just URL. Body is bytes dot new buffer JSON. We'll get to what the JSON bit is in a second. Request. What is this? Yeah, this is request and error. There we go. If not valid method, it's going to try to parse the URL. Okay, so there are a couple of valid places for where this could fail. So we'll do if error does not equal, oops, does not equal to nil, and we do that stuff. So we'll say return errors error f, I think, or errors.wrap, was it? Yeah. I think we'll just do an errors.wrap error, and then post to create subscriptions failed. And then so this we're not going to do. We're going to do a c.client.do request, and that's going to do some things. Now first though, we need to add some headers. Adds the key value pair to the header. This is so normally when you're just posting via the HTTP client, you can just do HTTP post. They have other options for get and put and so forth. But if you need to edit the request, I think that's when you have to do something like this. So the request allows you to edit more things like headers and so forth, and that's more or less what we're trying to do near. Let's see here. So we need a client ID is c.client ID request.header.add authorization. And then this is bearer c.access token. So we can do something like that. That will give us the client ID and the authorization header. Then we would do a client request.do. That will give us either a response or an error. And honestly, we can do that again because it's more or less the same thing. And then we need to do something with resp. So we'll come back to that in a second. For now, we can just do a logger.info. Percent plus v resp. Which is not going to work, I think. It's not actually going to read the body or do anything of that nature, but we have resp available. JSON parser. I actually don't remember. There we go. Parsing parses a string value type into a Go string. No, that is not what I'm doing. We do need to do that. So we need to get string out of this. The data is gonna come in from body for bytes. So get string. Body. And then this is going to be, I actually don't remember how I did this before. So body is going to be io.readAll. So at this point, we've gotten a response. We are reading from the response. So response.body, defer refs.body.close. And it's actually body error equals a thing. If error does not equal to nil, then we're going to return errors.wrap. Let's see here. Read subscriptions response body. Okay. And then from there, we would start doing the JSON parser stuff that we did before. Now, I actually don't remember how I did this before. Oh yeah, I was just going straight in, which in this case, we would need the challenge. So challenge string or challenge error equals if error does not equal to nil. Admittedly, there are some occasions where did I hit the? Yeah, I did. Hit the wrong button. Let's see here. Get challenge key from body. And then if we actually have the challenge key, now this is interesting. So what we also now have to do is we have to persist this challenge. So for now, we'll just do a logger.info event sub challenge key received. So we need to persist the challenge key for the HTTP server to respond with. So there is going to be some persistence that we need to account for here as well. So that's interesting. So guess what that means? This client also needs a cache. And cache will be a cache.cache. Oh man. Config cache is a cache.cache. So the cache will be the cache. What a strange statement. Like when you actually look at this from the perspective of somebody that doesn't write code and is looking at it from the perspective of English, makes no bloody sense. Let's see here. So we got our cache. So now what's up here? What are we not doing? Oh, right. We never actually serialized JSON. JSON error equals, oh wait, JSON body error equals, because otherwise we're gonna end up doing this. JSON dot Marshall. So we'll get to that here in just a second. JSON body. That's all good. That's all good. You also need the cache for remembering which notifications you have received. True, very true. So for that, for the piece about deduplication, reading in the, I think it was the message ID. That is a very good call. Wow. All right. So that's what we're gonna get. This is what we need. We also need broadcaster broadcaster ID. Version condition. Transport is callback. Can your cache expire? It can if I set it to, which I think by default it doesn't. Which, to be fair, I think it might be fine for it to expire, like the greeter does, like every 12 hours or so. If a repeat message comes in after 12 hours, it's not that big of a deal. We don't have to keep all messages in cache for perpetuity, but yeah, there's definitely something. Oops, didn't want to do that. Boink. Oh no, you got to see which channels I'm in. Ah! Also, the casing on these things is confusing. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like an expiration probably would make sense. 12 hours seems perfectly fine. Yeah, 12 hours late seems very unlikely. And I mean, technically, I could probably cut that down to like an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. I was thinking 12 hours, probably because of the existing bit, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we need to do this. We need to get that, and then we also need access token, broadcaster ID. So we do need that. Unknown field in literal. Oh, right. We need to pop that into here. There's a part of me that's very tempted to just do. Hey, really, Frank, I was curious. When it comes to struct embedding, I remember. Oh yeah, these should absolutely be public. I remember that. So like we can do for structs, we can do things like sync.mutex. And that embeds those methods into the struct. They're available as if they were on the struct themselves, yada yada yada. Can you do the same for just struct fields? Like, is there a way to, I guess, technically spread out config? Because I know you can do this, but if I remember correctly, that... Oh wait, did that just work? Well, it works because it's still there. So if I wanted to remove these, I can't do this. Is there a way to do this? Versus having to copy them back and forth between config and the event sub? That would be most ideal. I mean, we could just have a config. We could just do that. But I was curious. Yeah, like, so event sub has its fields, and then config has its fields, and basically what I want to do is enable this such that the... Well, I guess this still works. Like, that still works, but I guess it's something... Oh! Oh, so you have to do this? Mixture of field value and value elements and struct literal. Okay. Like that. Okay, so secret's not a literal, so that goes up there. Oh. Gotcha. Okay. Appreciate you. I was trying to remember how to do that, and I remembered that I could do it with... I do it with sync mutex all the time so that I can have struct.lock and struct.unlock all, everywhere, but I couldn't remember how to do that part, so appreciate you. Deduplication. Uh-oh. Yeah, so that's fine. What happened here? Event sub is a client to the Twitch event sub API. And then these two can do like that. So now we've got, for our constructor, we've got our config and our cache. Starting up, we do a validation run for these two. We can probably move this down here. We need to serialize the JSON body, which we can create here in just a second. We've got our client ID and authorization header. Fire off the request. If that fails, we do a thing. We log our... Actually, you know what? I kind of want to do this. And this would just be S. Yeah, I'm going back and forth on the traceability of this, but something like this might be beneficial for the initial testing. Then the challenge we extract out of that. So then we do a cache dot. Oh, c dot cache dot put. Challenge. Key goes in there. Wanted to make that a constant, so challenge key. So challenge key is the cache key for the challenge string received on start. What happened? Hello? Oh, sorry. I'm like, why is this not working? Because man. Boop. c.cache.put. Because I did not make this. I did not make that a pointer. I do like that. And bongo. So now we've got that, we've got that. We don't need to do anything else there, I don't think. Let's double check. Double check the whiteboard notes. So let's see here. So we got a post. We need the broadcaster ID, callback URL secret. On create, Twitch will send the challenge back to the callback URL to validate the headers and respond with just the challenge string. So we can do that here in just a second. What we first need is this. Go JSON to struct. This is just, it's too good. It's too good. Ooh, what's this? Config struct, event sub. Oh! Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't know why that didn't register in my brain for as long as it didn't, but thank you. Oh, that was terrible. And then to your point, these all need to be exported, which I wasn't doing it that way. I was doing it this way. So that... Ugh, I wish that supported Vim movements. When I don't have Vim movements, I realize that I flounder a little bit. There we go. So now that should update all of that, and now we're into this part. Google Docs not having Vim movements ruins my life. Me too, bro. Also, how you doing, mate? Thanks so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. Good to see you again. Do I have any more coffee? I don't have any more coffee. Oh. You know what also gave me a lot of heartburn while I was there? Trying to get IntelliJ Vim movements to be as nice. Oh my goodness. I think the first one of the first things that I said to Mako when we started working together was, so IntelliJ, and then eventually it came out that I was a dirty Vim user. And what was it that you said to me? Was it something like, "Oh, you sweet child, you'll learn. Don't worry, you'll learn. Also, download IntelliJ, like right now." I tried so hard, but Mako already had the scars. Yeah. For context, Mako and I used to work together. Big old Java project, and I tried so hard to do Vim on that project, but just no. There's a limit. There's a limit. Let's see here. So now we've got our auto-generated struct. Har. Let's see here. So if we plop this is gonna go up here, I think. IntelliJ is stupid slow. It hurts me a little bit. Subscription request. Subscription request represents a request to Twitch to create an event sub subscription. Oh man. Yeah. To be fair, though, for the amount of work that went into that IntelliJ environment, the automations were really nice. Right? They were really nice. I had to give them that. But no Vim opportunity. Let's see here. So, type, version, condition, transport. That's all good. So now we can create. By the way, really, Frank, that is the coolest freaking site that you have ever showed me. Just saying. Let's see here. So this, we need to marshal a change to this, a subscription request. So type, I think this one was it channel? Nope. Channel dot something. Channel.channelpoints.custom reward redemption.add. And yes, we will turn these into like proper templates or functions and whatnot, but oof. So we got version, we got condition, broadcaster ID. Condition was a, what was the condition? The condition was just a struct. Broadcaster user ID in this case is c dot broadcaster ID. Ooh, that's not right. Oh, that's right. Do you have to have the JSON tag? You don't have to have the JSON tag. Cool. Okay. So that's a thing. And now transport is also a thing. So this, can I just say that I'm like really glad that this supports auto serialization. Just saying. Delete to that. Oh, delete to that. Yeah, so there we go. So now the method is webhook. The callback is c.callbackURL. And the secret is c.secret. Woo. That was interesting, but it's also wrong. So cannot use struct value but as struct. Oh, you have to have the JSON. Why is the JSON tag a type? Whoa. Huh. Does beg the question, and I think I'm leaning towards doing this, if this should just be structs. Like, Yeah. Yeah, no. Condition is a condition with a JSON of blah. I've definitely like I've gone back and forth on doing that, and I like having dedicated structs. Type transport struct method does a thing. We delete that. And transport is a transport of type JSON transport. Can the tool do it? That gets me every time. Damn it. Thank you, really, Frank. I will remember that one day. One day. But not this day. Let's see here. Condition is the condition block of a subscription request. Condition. Again, typing. Transport, TT transport, is the transport block of a subscription request. Boop. There we go. So we'll probably move this out somewhere. Where that somewhere is, TBD. So we got transport is a transport. And I do love that actually still works, but condition, blah. There we go. All right, so we got our JSON body is we attempt to marshal the request. If error does not equal to nil, then we return errors.wrap or change to this marshalling or marshal subscription request failed. Unnamed structs are only useful for JSON decoding. Fair, very fair. Which we did do, if I remember correctly, for I think it was the pub sub message. Yeah, for pub sub message, we definitely left it as inline, but yeah. Name structs for the win. So JSON body, we do a JSON marshal, then we fire that off as the bytes new buffer. We assuming we get a response, we get that challenge key, and then we plop that into cache. As long as we've gotten the key for the challenge key into cache, then we're good, as far as I can tell. So, come back up one. Creating a subscription. So we will have to create the ngrok endpoint. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that today, but let's see here. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we need an endpoint. Now the callback URL. For the sake of simplicity, what we can do, and main.go is probably just fucked right now. Oh yeah, here we go. Event sub.config. And so we're gonna have our server URL is, server URL is this. Callback URL is, we'll generate that. So we do like that. Then event sub dot start is a thing, too few arguments. So for new, we also need cache. Cache. We'll just create another cache. Let's see here. So we have the callback URL and we have the event sub cache. Or really, we actually need the what cache are you using? You're using the metrics cache. I'm very tempted to just call this the HTTP server cache. Which in that case, well, does the metrics cache have a... It doesn't expire. Shit. We have so many caches floating around in this application right now, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, we'll keep them separate. Must create file cache. And then the cache expiration time is greeter cache expiration time. What I think we'll do for now is see config expiration time. That's a mouthful. In 64. Do that, and this one is going to be event sub.cache.expiration time. 2G. This is for the event sub cache. I'll do this for now. You know what? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is absolutely just more of a an application specification. Application specification, yes. So this is expiration time in seconds. So for seconds, so we're going to do 60 seconds times 60 minutes. And we're going to say 12 hours. So 12-hour expiration. What's the matter? Declare but not use. That's fine. Then some client. So this is event sub cache and event sub dot block. Oops. Just because I like ordering. Leave me alone. There we go. All right, so now we got the cache. Now we need to fill this out. So server URL, callback URL, client ID, channel ID. Oh no, sorry, that's broadcaster ID. For client ID, and access token, so we need to get this. Okay, this is actually this is not a password, this is an access token. So let's fix that real quick. Oops. Access token. And then the client ID is also going to come from the secret store. So client ID is store.client client ID, get client ID from store. And so we do have a secret store. Secret store does a thing. And for this, yes, so we need Twitch token and we need client ID, config.client ID. And so that'll be Twitch token, client ID. ENV store needs client ID. ID. GTFO, etcd. Client ID is a string. So many pieces, so little time. Twitch token returns the Twitch access token for the bot to use for API calls. Well, we'll just keep it that. And then this, we'll do the more or less the exact same thing for func s env store client ID string error. We do the same thing. S dot client ID error. Client ID not in env. Return s dot client ID. Sorry, I know this is probably just like, oh, keep rolling. So let's see here. So client ID returns the Twitch OAuth client ID used in API calls. That's all good. New env store. I feel like it feels weird to have this be called env store. Is an in-memory secret store driven by env variables. It feels weird to have this called env store when it doesn't actually care about where it came from. Like, yes, it technically came from env, but it doesn't actually do the accessing itself. Like, to me, this is probably unnecessary. I'm starting to get to a point where I think it is unnecessary, but I'm not gonna change it just yet. env gets secrets from environment variables. So then we also need to get client ID. So client ID. Oops. Client ID. Twitch. I think I called it client ID. I'm fairly certain I still have that, but we'll check. So coming back here. So config now has client ID. env store needs another thing here for client ID. So that now does that. New env store is good. This is now a secret store. Store.client ID, store.twitch token. I'm very tempted to call this access token. But nah, we'll get there. So now we have server URL, callback URL, broadcaster ID, client ID, access token. Are you keeping up, chat? Woof. Server ID. Okay. So at this point, we should have our client. We try to start it. Off that goes. Then, so now in theory, we still need to get our callback URL. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So where would callback URL come from? Channel, config, host, port, all. So this is an optional. Host is definitely required. Flat. Maybe it makes sense to have it in config. I'm watching at quarter speed to keep up. I think a little bit of the southern in me is kicking in. I'm kind of like over here, then over here, then over here, then over here, then over there, then over there. It's like, yeah. I should probably do a recap here. But before we do that, we'll get for now do a flag. Callback base URL. Default will be well, no, this would be config. This absolutely would be config. I was going back and forth on where I wanted that to exist, but I think this needs to, yeah, this needs to be this. Okay, so event sub. Oh, right, we don't have anything event sub related, so let's just do this up here. So this will be callback base URL. It's the base URL that points to the embedded HTTP server. Or maybe I'll call this local server base URL. C is config. Local server base URL returns a string. Oops, didn't want to do that. So this would be value equals c.config.getString. And then this would be c.key server.base URL. And then return value. So this is going to be the value that we point the webhooks to. So if we go to config, I call it server base URL. Up here, we would need server base URL. And so this will change. So what I do need to do is I need to enable the ability to have this overridden. Actually, note can be overridden by the server base URL env variable. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, so this is more or less a way for me to say, to tell the bot, here is the callback URL to send to Twitch. But for deployed environments, that causes a little bit of a problem. So what I need to do is I need to do an os.getEnv here. So os override equals os.getEnv server base URL. Or I should say env override. Or I could do a lookup env. Lookup env retrieves the value named by the key if the variable is present, is returned, and the boolean is true. Yeah, that's what I need. Sorry, I need lookup env. So override present. So if present, then we return the env override. Otherwise, we get the value from config and we return that. So it's kind of like we have a value in config by default, but for the Docker environment, for example, we're going to change that to whatever the external DNS provider's URL would be. So in Docker, we would need to be able to override that, and the best way to do that would be via an environment variable. So we set that environment variable, we override local server base URL. I'm just going to do a logger.info for, let's see here, env override for server base URL present. So do it like that. There. Then we come back to main.go, come down to event sub. Callback URL is conf.local server base URL plus, and then this will be event sub callback. Finally, we need to send so we've got the metrics cache. We're gonna send the event sub cache as well. Metric store is a cache.cache. Event sub cache is a cache.cache. And required for event sub s.router.handlefunc event sub callback is going to be handled by the s.eventsub handler. And in here, we're going to pass the s. Where are you? Event sub cache. Which means that we need to add an event sub cache. Event sub cache is event sub cache. So we do like that. And then this becomes event sub cache. So now we have a new cache that's present for the HTTP endpoints. We pass that down to this callback handler, which doesn't exist yet, but it's going to. And then what we need is we need to add a server event sub handler.go. And then the event sub handler. So the only purpose of this, no, there's more purposes than what I was thinking. Disregard. Yeah. Okay. So server event sub handler takes a cache, which is a cache.cache. Okay. Gonna have to do this last part. To do. Switch for challenge key. Also to do handle, or in this case, we would be parse events. You know what we could do? We could just pass the event sub client, which I think we're gonna have to. I think we're going to have to do this. which I am very tempted to actually call it client at the moment, because what that would, we still need that client to interact with. We're gonna need some of those structs and such to in this handler. And if the client is the one that's responsible for doing the if the client's going to be responsible for doing the message parsing, we're going to need the client anyway. So we actually don't need a cache to be sent to the server. Okay, hang on. So this will actually be client, which means that we don't need a cache necessarily, although I probably still will. So this becomes a client. This becomes a client. Event sub.client. This. And yes, it's called event sub. The struct is called event sub right now. But I want to change that. Okay, so now the problem with this is something. We'll go into main.go, and then this won't be the event sub cache, this will be the event sub client. Right? Okay, so what that means, we may not need this. Because my thought is, if the bot dies, we're just gonna redo the process all over again. So I don't think we need the cache. I think we just need this. So we delete to that. We don't do the cache. Right? So we just do this. Dish. We don't do the client. So now, if I need the secret, I can just get it from the client. So we don't have to do that. We can just do this. So as a to-do for next time, message parsing. I think I want the message parsing to be in the client. Also, since this is namespaced and we're stuttering a little bit, I'm just gonna call this client. So client is a client to the Twitch client API that also handles message parsing for events. Okay. That was a lot. So I apologize. All right, so then that's gonna come down here, and then we'll just have a func c client secret return c.secret. Secret returns the generated secret used for subscription initialization. Okay. So now we have the client secret here. We can go back to the server event sub handler, and now that we have the client, we can just say client.secret. Right? So challenge key is now client.secret. W.write byte challenge key. And there we go. Now, this handler is going to be responsible for grabbing messages, or from receiving webhook events from event sub, parsing them into bot events, and then shoving that off to the bot handler. So we will have to also inject the bot here, but that at least gives us something to there we go. Had a hair floating around in my face. That at least gives us the initial part where we can start receiving events. Oh boy. Okay. So I just want to double check this. So in server, required for event sub callbacks, a wild Toby has appeared. Hey, Bubba. Good timing. Let's see here. And now... Now we actually can pull this from config, because config now has the local server base URL. So, local base URL, it's a string. What's up? Oh, right. Oops. Local base URL. And then we've got so many things in this constructor right now. Really need to fix that. Like, really need to fix that. Local base URL is local base URL. So now that's available. So now we don't need this anymore. We just need this to be, so base URL becomes s.local base URL. There. And that means that we have to come back into main server. This now requires conf.local server base URL. Metrics cache, event sub client. So that's all good. I am so over. I should have been done about 20 minutes ago, but I'm on a roll. I'm going, can't stop. So callback URL is event sub callback. Those two things should be very, very close to each other, I think. Yeah, let's actually bring this down here. Event sub client. Callback URL should match the route found in server.routes. Just to call out that there is a dependency between these two things. Like this route, and we could make it a config item, and I might make it a config item. I'm just not doing it right now. Yeah, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But that is the client created. That is that's the client created. That's the server handler created, but it's not actually doing what it needs to do at the moment. Oh, right, I need to do one more thing. Package event sub. Need to fix that. And then server event sub w.write header 200. So in the case that it's a challenge key, then we grab that from the client and then we just write that out as a plain body. Otherwise, we parse the events. So in theory, if we were to connect this would work. In theory. Logger.info, responding to event sub challenge with challenge key, which that's a forward reference, so we do that. Okay. In theory, we could connect this thing. In theory. In practice, I don't actually know. think we have I'm kind of tempted to try. Hang on. Let me go into secrets. Close that. Stop token. Twitch. Token. Client ID. Okay. Actually, no, we don't have to do host localhost. Aww. Must provide a valid content type. Did I not? Okay, okay. How did we... Oh, right, we didn't do the rec.header.add content type JSON. Okay. Aw. Client ID, no auth token don't match. I thought so. I thought that the client ID was off. Damn. Damn. Oh man, that was so close. But hey, we got pretty damn far. That's not bad. Go.mod, go.sum, secret, server, and event sub. And main.go. I'll do an interim commit for add event sub client. Whew. We were so close. So freaking close. But I'm gonna have to generate some access tokens and all that fun in on the side, but oh, we were so close. Also, I'm noticing that the chat box here is not as large as I thought it would be. That's okay. That's okay. I think we can actually just make it bigger from here. Oh, and of course I made the chat go away, because of course. But I really hate that it does that. It's like I changed the size of the chat box and the chat box just disappears. Or the contents of the chat box just disappears. The chat box is still there, I think. Yep, it's still there. I'd have to dig into that a little bit. I still have to dig into the layout in general because it's screwed right now. But oh well. But anyway, I think that'll do it for today. That was a lot. That was a lot, but starting to break ground on event sub, which is interesting. I wasn't quite expecting to be here at this point, but I mean, we'll give it a shot. We'll give it our best shot. See what happens. So for next time, we're going to attempt to see if we can get connected to event sub. So I'll do some OAuth token regeneration kind of off stream and get those updated. And then we'll start looking into parsing some of these events to see if we can move some functionality over. because that would be interesting. I think the client is probably going to need to be updated to be just like IRC is a bot client. We're probably going to have to update the event sub client to also be a bot client so that it can do things like send messages onto the bot's event stream and so forth. But we're getting there. So as a recap, just real quick, we created a client to reach out to event sub. To create that initial request for hey, we are interested in channel follows, we're interested in channel point redemption, so on and so forth. We created the client to start that. We started to create the HTTP handler to respond to that validation run that Twitch is going to do. So we send a request for subscription. It's going to call our callback URL, and we're supposed to respond with that challenge key to say, yep, this is us. I'm kind of curious if we can just always respond with that channel key or that challenge key. That would be very useful. Like, very useful if we could just do that. Receive a post notification. Acknowledge the notification by returning a 200 status. In a few seconds, if your server takes too long to respond, the request will time out. If your server can't process a notification request quickly enough, consider writing the payload to temporary storage, responding for a 200, and then processing it. Yeah. Twitch subscriptions are designed as an ad at least once, blah, blah, blah. So we do need to also look into, we probably will still need that cache. Yeah, I'm just now realizing that we are probably going to still need the cache, but we can probably do something a little bit simpler for that. We'll get into that next stream, but a cache for the IDs that we've already seen. So, but that's going to do it for now. Next time, I want to see that work, and I think we'll get there. But until next time, thank you all so much for stopping by. It was great to see you all. Stay curious. See if I can get Toby up here. Ah. I think Toby's just over it. There you go, Bubba. Good. Since I didn't do the keyboard song, in recompense, I'll do a little cat dance because that's about all that I can do at the moment. Yeah. He's just purring away. And now he's done. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay curious, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.